Hello traders, the purpose of this video is to get familiarized with the indicator and indicator settings to optimize your market profile trading experience. To the right of the screen is the indicator manual that was provided to you when you downloaded the indicator off of our website. I will show you all of the steps to get the indicator up and running and teach you each individual setting. On the indicator manual, you will see the table of contents. We're going to go through this manual together section by section. We're going to go through the disclaimers, quick setup guide, tick replay, profile view, hybrid view, order flow footprint view and its components, and we're lastly going to go through the indicator settings. Here are the required disclaimers. And after the required disclaimers, we have a quick setup guide. Now, I've taken the liberty of building a default workspace for the market profile that will save you time going through your settings. But of course, I respect all traders and the desire to customize their indicators in their own personal way. I encourage it. I always encourage all traders to make the indicator your own. There is a link on this page of the manual that will take you to a YouTube video where I explain how to import the template onto your NinjaTrader 8 platform. And I also go through each of the steps that you will need to go through. Next, we have tick replay. Okay. And tick replay is one of the best things that our good friends in the NinjaTrader development team have developed. This feature pulls up historical bid and ask data, which increases the accuracy of our indicators by 99.9%. Okay. The market profile and footprint use this information to build profiles and see historical footprint data that is accurate and valid. Without the tick replay, this indicator set would not be possible to make. It is also the reason it is only available on NinjaTrader 8. Unfortunately, the NinjaTrader 7 platform, which is still the most popular way of using NinjaTrader, does not have tick replay. Thus, the indicators could not be made for NinjaTrader 7, only NinjaTrader 8. So in order for the indicators to work, we must first enable tick replay. Here's how. First thing that we need to do is pull up our control center and click on Tools. We're going to get a drop down menu here, and we're going to go to the very last option, which is Options. Right? Super simple, super easy. Tools, Options. And once we get to Options, we get this second window that pops up. And we want to go to the last section here on the categories, which is Market Data. Lastly, under Historical, right here, we want to go to Show Tick Replay, and we want to make sure we enable it. We'll know it's enabled when it has a check inside of the box. We then go ahead and click OK. We can put this away. But we're not done just yet. Once it's enabled, you will need to also make sure that it is enabled on your data series. So what we want to do is just pull up any chart, just like I have here of the S&P 500 futures. I'm going to go ahead and click on this little 3-box pattern. If you hover over it, you'll see it says data series. I can click on that, and the data series will pull up, or I could also right click on the chart and click on data series. What we're going to do next is very simple. It's just check off tick replay on the chart. Once we check it off, we can click OK, and the chart will begin to load the tick replay. Now, it's important to know that when we're on tick replay, your charts may load a little bit slower than usual. And that is because it's not only just loading historical data for the open, high, low, and close of specific past periods, but it is also loading the bid and ask historical data. And because of that, it may take just a little bit longer. And also, as I mentioned, the indicators would not be possible to make without the inclusion of tick replay. They increase the indicator's accuracy by 99.9%. So the indicators will only work with tick replay turned on. We got to make sure that tick replay is always turned on. If for some reason you have your indicators all set up, but we don't see anything on our charts, definitely make sure by going to data series and making sure that tick replay is turned on. Sometimes it's left unchecked, and that could be a possible reason as to why the indicators don't show up here. Once we have tick replay enabled and our charts working, we have a view that we like to call the profile view. Now, profile view is the traditional and most popular way to view the market profile. In this view, it is easier to apply a set of market profile strategies that in hybrid view you cannot. Profile view uses letter TPOs versus block-shaped TPOs. Each letter represents a 30-minute block of time. The time for each TPO is customizable by the user, but it is recommended to use 30 minutes to achieve maximum accuracy. Here are some of the components: TPO value area, TPO single prints, TPO point of control, volume point of control, TPOs above value, TPOs below value, TPO value area, volume profile value area, and a single print tracker. Let's go over what each one of these mean. So the TPO value area, this marks 68% of the market's range from high to low where price traveled through the most. And we could visually see this on the TPO, TPOs being each letter, and we can see it here in the color black. So if each letter is in black and not another color, we know that prices or these TPOs are trading inside of value, inside of the TPO value area. TPO value area is the market profile value area. And the market profile is a profile of time and not volume. Volume value area is based on volume, but TPOs are based on time. With all of these components, the color is customizable by the user. So if you don't like the color black for TPOs that are inside of value, you can certainly go into the settings and change the color yourselves. Next, we have TPO single prints. Single prints are when singular TPO is printed on the market profile. The indicator will color the TPOs in the color purple. So here, when we have a single print or a print that it's by itself, we can see that the indicator automatically prints them in the color purple. On this profile, we don't have any other instance of single prints. So here, letter P, these are single prints, thus they are colored in purple. Next, we have the TPO point of control, and this marks the price where the most amount of TPOs printed. The indicator will color the TPOs in a bright blue color. Here we can see that this is the area where most amount of TPOs printed, most amount of letters. So that is the point of control, and it marks where price is traded through the most, or which price these TPOs traded through the most. In this example, it happens to be 24.92 1/4. we also have a volume point of control. And this marks the price where the most amount of volume was executed. And the indicator will color the TPOs in the color orange. Here we can see that at these sets of letters is where we have the volume point of control. The volume point of control is where the price where most amount of volume executed. Behind the letters, we can see a histogram of the volume profile. And here we can see that, yes, this was certainly the price where most amount of volume traded. We don't see any of these bars longer than at this price. Thus, the indicator recognizes this and colors those TPOs specifically in orange. We also have TPOs above value and TPOs below value. So if we know that TPOs inside of value are in the color black, then TPOs above value we have in the color blue, and TPOs below value are in the color red. Again, just more visual representation of the market profile and its components. It's a very visual, very rich way to view the market profile. Next, we have the TPO value area. And in profile view only, the TPO value area is also visually displayed as a vertical black line behind the profile. Here behind the profile, we can see a vertical black line. Thus, this marks the value area on the TPOs. So we can see a value area high, we can see a value area low. And this is based on time. We also have a volume profile value area, and this marks 68% of the sessions range from high to low where the most amount of volume was executed. And the indicator will visually display this as a vertical blue line behind the profile. And here we can see the vertical blue line behind the profile. We can see a value area high in volume, value area low in volume. And next we have the single print tracker. And this marks a range of single prints that have not occurred yet. This tracker is used as a range to go long or short on consolidation patterns. The indicator will display this as a rectangular green or red shaded area. Green meaning that it's below value and we want to get long inside that area, and red above value, which in turn we would want to be short inside that area. Again, only in consolidation patterns. Here we can see the red shaded area. That's where we have single prints. Here we have a red shaded area that is anticipating new single prints when prices trade, if prices had traded to that level. And then down here in green, we can see one single print made it this low before reverting back to the mean. And this is your single print trackers. They keep track of where single prints will be. If we scroll down in the manual, we will see an image of the profile view and a quick little legend of each individual section of the profile. Scrolling down further, and we get to the hybrid view. And when you apply the market profile indicator onto your charts, by default, hybrid view will be the first view that you see. Hybrid view combines the market profile with default candlestick charts. This makes it easier to use both any bar type and the market profile at the same time. Hybrid view can be used with any bar type and especially the order flow footprint. The TPOs in hybrid mode are displayed in block shapes. So when we take a look at our chart, if we don't have the window maximized, we're going to be able to see a little triangle here, and if we click on it, we get further options. Here's profile view and hybrid view. Profile view is what we're looking at now, and if I were to click on hybrid view, we switch over to hybrid view. So this is how we can switch back and forth from hybrid to profile, from profile back to hybrid. So let's focus here on hybrid. And here are some of the components. Let me go ahead and zoom in. And it's the TPO value area again. This marks 68% of the range from high to low where price traveled through the most. The indicator will visually display this area in the color black. So as you can see here on the left, the profile is no longer in the form of letters, but rather block shapes. And these block shapes are your TPOs. So here we can see them in black. That's inside of value. Above value, we know it to be in blue, single prints in purple, below value in red. We also have a couple of unique little features in this view as well, which is the TPO value area high and the TPO value area low. And the high marks the top of the value area, and the indicator will visually display this as a horizontal black line from the left of the profile to the right of the profile. And the low is the exact same thing. It marks the bottom of the value area, and it's displayed as a horizontal black line from the left of the profile to the right of the profile. And here we can see that line. I'm just going to go ahead and circle it right there. That's the value area high, and right down here is the value area low. Pretty visual. Next, TPO single prints. We know them to be in purple. Okay. The TPO point of control, and this marks the price where the most amount of TPOs printed, right? The indicator will visually display this on the profile in the color yellow, a horizontal line in the color yellow, but the blocks themselves are also in blue. Kind of hard to see, but it's there. And we can see that yellow line, and the blocks are in the color blue. We also see the volume point of control, and we know this is marks the most amount of volume, where the most amount of volume was executed, and the indicator will display this area in the color orange. And right there, we can see the blocks are in the color orange. Okay. TPOs above value, TPOs below value, we went over that. It's in blue and in red. And then we have two completely new indicators and components of this profile in hybrid view. The first one being VWAP and the second one being TWAP. VWAP, this marks the volume weighted average price for the session. The indicator will visually display this as a line in the color of a dark blue. This can also be customizable by the user, both VWAP and TWAP. And here in VWAP, we can see kind of this dark blue line. It's like a moving average, and it colors it here, as you can see, in blue. And TWAP, this marks the time weighted average price for the session, and the indicator will visually display this as a dark khaki, but as you can see here, I've actually customized it into a little bit of a darker red color. As you can see, the color is customizable by the user, and not just the color but the style as well. Here the style is in a line form. If I wanted it to be in dash style, I could change that to dash as well. So it's fully customizable. By default, it's in a khaki color, but again, here I personally customized it myself to a more darker red color. If we scroll down to the next page, here we have a hybrid view image and a legend going over each individual section of the profile view. Next section of the manual is the order flow footprint. And this is a great indicator. The indicator is automatically integrated into the market profile indicator. Unlike traditional volume tracking methods that show how much total volume has traded, the footprint displays the total executed volume on both the bid side and the ask side individually. This is an incredibly powerful tool because now we can visually see whether there are more buyers than sellers or vice versa. The footprint also displays the total net imbalance of each candlestick individually and also displays the cumulative net imbalance for the entire session. A positive number shows that there are more buyers than sellers, and a negative number shows that there are more sellers than buyers. And here are the components of the footprint. The bid side, which is the left side of each candlestick. So each candlestick is divided into two sides, left and right, and divided vertically by each tick with a black outline. The bid side is on the left side in the color red. The color, again, customizable by the user. When you zoom in closer to the candlesticks, you can actually see a number, and that number is the total number of contracts that was executed at each tick on the bid side. And on the ask side, which is the right side, we're going to see it in the color green, which again is customizable by the user. And when you zoom in closer, you actually see the total number of executed volume at each tick on the ask side. So let's go ahead and zoom in here on the S&P 500. And the closer we get, we start seeing a lot of numbers, set of numbers. Here we can see the numbers more clearly. And this is the total number of contracts that was executed at each specific price. Looking at the S&P 500 at a milestone of 2,500, we can see that 938 contracts traded on the ask, 0 on the bid. At 24.99 3/4, we can see that the market traded 521 contracts on the bid, 1,898 contracts on the ask. This type of information is not possible, again, without the use of tick replay, which is why it's one of the greatest developments of the NinjaTrader development team. It also shows, the power of the indicator. When we load up your conventional volume lower indicator, it shows you how much total volume traded at each bar, yes, but it doesn't show you how many contracts of volume traded on the ask or how many contracts of volume traded on the bid. And it cannot also show you individually by price. We can see that each price traded its own set of volume, both on the bid and on the ask. At the bottom, we have an imbalance tracker, which is what we like to call it, on a bar-by-bar basis. And we have different color sets for each of these. And this component is at the bottom of the price chart, as we see. It calculates the difference between ask and bid volume and displays that number bar by bar. It also adds a color associated to the imbalance. Okay. When we have negative imbalance, it will be a negative number. We can see a number with a negative sign. And it will display the colors yellow, pink, and red. Yellow equals the bid volume greater than the ask volume by 1 to 14%. Pink will show you that the bid volume is greater than the ask volume by 15 to 49%. And bright red will show you that the bid volume is greater than the ask volume by 50% or greater. A positive imbalance will display the colors light blue, pale green, and green. Light blue shows that the ask volume is greater than the bid volume by 1 to 14%. Pale green will show you that the ask volume is greater than the bid volume by 15 to 49%. And in green will show you that the ask volume is greater than the bid volume by 50% or greater. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom out here for a second so we can see all of the colors. And here we can see the pink. Here we can see pale green, light blue, and yellow. And the real way of thinking about these colors is that yellow is a little bit of weak buying, a little bit of weak selling. Light blue is weak buying. Pale green and pink are, pretty strong buying and pretty strong selling. And when we have the bright red and the bright green, that usually means that there's really strong selling and really strong buying. And here we can see on this bar here, we had really strong selling, as noted there by the indicator. And I'm just trying to look for a bright green one right there. If we can see some strong buying at that bar. But again, we don't see a really great end result. And simply this traded in the overnight Globex session where there isn't too much volume to really speak of. And since we're only trading on a 30-minute interval, it doesn't generate enough volume per bar to show that there's really not a lot of volume in there. So the only time to really take into account these colors, the best time to take account into these colors is always during the open session in the S&P 500 between 9:30 a.m. and 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. That's when these colors are valid because there's volume, there's a lot of volume associated at each one of these time periods. We also have an imbalance tracker that is cumulative, which means it collects all of the data and adds together this bar with that bar, with that bar, with that bar, all the way to the beginning of the session. And it displays it to us right here in the color blue at the lower right hand corner. And this component will only show up at the bottom right corner of the price chart. We said that. It calculates the cumulative net imbalance for the current session template. A negative number suggests that there are more sellers than buyers, or greater bid volume than ask volume. A positive number suggests that there are more buyers than sellers, or a greater ask volume than bid volume. Here on this day, we can see that historic day, at the end of the day, we did reach 2,500 in the S&P 500 futures. We had a total net imbalance of positive 12,968 total contracts. More ask volume than bid volume. We can also see institutional buying and selling, and we see those sections highlighted. And this component highlights very large imbalances between buyers and sellers intra-bar. When there is a larger than normal imbalance on the bid side, the specific price will highlight in yellow. When there is a larger than normal imbalance on the ask side, the specific price will highlight in blue. These large imbalances are due to very large orders being executed. These large orders come from proprietary traders, hedge funds, and also institutional traders. Here on this bar, we can see that there was a little bit of institutional buying here in the 24.98 and a quarter for in this section where we see 456 contracts trading on the ask. It's larger than normal trade volume, thus the indicator does a great job anticipating it, calculating it, and highlighting it in blue for us to see, that there was some institutional buying there, and this all happens real time. If I move to the left here on this big push to the upside, we can see that there was institutional buying as well. Here between two prices and right down here at around 24.94, there were more buyers and sellers and larger than normal ask volume at these prices, suggesting that there was an institution or a large trader getting into a trade to the long side. Here we can see it again. And, not much sellers on this day, but if we go back just enough, we can see that there were some institutional sell orders or larger than average sell orders at this price, these two prices there, that price, this price, that price, so on and so forth, highlighted in yellow between on the bid side, and on the ask side we can see that highlighted in blue are the institutional order flows of and at what specific price. It's really great information to have and to use. It can definitely help you not only trade better but feel more confident about the trade, because you have buyers with you if you're long, or if you have sellers with you if you are short. And blue highlights and yellow highlights, they show you that there's institutional volume behind the move, and that can also help us maybe not take a trade or take profits on a trade faster than the move actually has. Sometimes many traders take trades, say to the long side, and they exit too quickly because they don't have this information. They don't realize that their trade is going to leave a lot of money on the table simply because they don't have access to this information. This is institutional grade tools that we have here, and how we interpret and use these can definitely help us stay in a trade longer. It can help us put on a trade, and it literally just eases our anxiety on a lot of trades. When many traders place orders and they get filled, there's a feeling of anxiety. These indicators definitely help alleviate that anxiety, simply because we can literally see if we have buyers behind a long position or if we have sellers behind a short position. And if I'm caught on a long position and I'm starting to see a lot more sellers than buyers, it can definitely help me get out of a position much faster than I would if I were trading somewhat naked without these tools. So it's a great advantage and a large edge over a lot of other traders that don't have access to this information. Next component here we have is unfinished auctions. And unfinished auctions are highlighted at the highs and lows of each bar, if there is an unfinished auction, of course. This is when there is both bid volume and ask volume at the top of a bar or a candle, the top or bottom of a candlestick. Unfinished auctions are considered to be levels where the market will want to go back because it has not finished an auction. For a little more info, if you're interested in why we call these unfinished auctions, definitely do a little research on auction market theory. The short, brief version is that, and let's just use a real life example. If you are at an auto show and your name is Mr. Bid and you're competing against Mr. Ask, only one of you is going to be the winner of the car. But in this instance, here we can see an unfinished auction. And unfinished auctions, the indicators will highlight them in a baby blue color. In this instance, we can see that we have bid volume and ask volume. Okay, we have Mr. Bid and we also have Mr. Ask. Now, both Mr. Bid and Mr. Ask cannot walk out with the same car, right? If you're bidding over one car, those two guys in a bidding war are not going to come out with the same car. Only one of them will come out with the same car. Okay, only one of them will win the car. So this is what's called an unfinished auction. And what needs to happen is prices need to trade through that level by at least one tick. It doesn't have to trade to it, it has to trade through it. Okay, here on this bar, the high, it traded right to it, and on the next bar here, it traded right through it. Now you can see we have unfinished auctions here, here. Well, this one finished, and unfinished auction here. Of course, there wasn't enough time for the market to pull back into these areas. But whenever we see these unfinished auctions like these, we can, keep in mind that the price of the market can definitely drop down at some point in time to finish that auction and then move to wherever it needs to move to. But also keep in mind that it doesn't have to always trade down and finish these auctions. Unfinished auctions can remain unfinished for a long period of time, but can be useful in order to see levels of price that have a good chance of price coming back down into those levels and trading either below it or continuing or reversing at that position or continuing to move lower. That's what an unfinished auction is. And then we have an open and close marker. Since the bid and the ask side are automatically painted, the open and close marker will help determine whether we had an up bar or a down bar, and this is displayed in the form of a small triangle on the left, which is the open, and on the right, which is the close. When we take a look at a normal candlestick chart, the bar isn't color coded in two sections. Here we color code them in two sections to help you decide, hey, this is the ask side and this is the bid side, right? But it doesn't tell me whether this bar closed higher than it opened or whether it closed lower than where it opened. So here on the left side, we have a very small triangle that's telling me this is where this market opened, this period, this 30-minute period opened here. And where did it close? Well, it closed up here at the high, right? Here on this bar, we opened at this price and we closed at this price. We opened here at this price and we closed at this price. So it helps guide and show you which bars are up-ticking bars and which ones are down-ticking bars. And something like this bar over here, this is a doji because we opened exactly, or we closed exactly where we opened. Pretty neat. If we scroll down further, we have an order flow footprint image and a legend. It'll show you on the left side we have the bid volume, ask side we have the ask volume, right side we have the ask volume. We also have the open marker and the close markers. We scroll down further and we can see different sections of the footprint indicator on and what these specific sections mean. So this finally completes the manual up to this point. Next we're going to go over the settings. So this is probably one of the most important parts of the manual. We need to understand what all of these settings are. So in the indicator settings, so this is the area where the user can choose to customize his or her market profile. From TPO colors to fonts, all of these things can be customized by the user. The following are explanations of what each setting controls. So on the footprint setting, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the indicator myself here, the indicator settings myself. Okay. Here we have the footprint settings. We're going to focus on these first. The first setting here is the bid highlight color. And this setting controls the color that will be highlighted, large bid volume, intrabar. Okay, so we know that that's your institutional order flow on the intrabar when it's highlighted on the bid side, and The ask highlight color, we can see right there on that bar, is in the color blue, and the ask highlight color, this setting controls the color that will highlight large ask volume intrabar. If you like to change it to any color, very simply, you just click on the drop down menu and you have a wide variety of colors to choose from. Next is the bid body color and the ask body color. So this setting controls the color of the bid side, which is the left side of the candlestick, and the ask body color controls the color of the ask side, which is the right side of the candlestick. Here we can see them in red and lime green, as we can see them here. Lime green on the right side, which is the ask side, and on the left side, which is the bid side, in the color red. Here we have the order flow tracker, which is at the bottom right down here of the chart, and ask greater than the bid by 50%. And this setting controls the scheme of the imbalance tracker. This will control ask volume that is greater than 50% of all volume. We have it set to a bright lime green, and that pale green, which is a dark sea green, is the ask volume greater than bid volume 15 to 49%. And that's this color right here. We can see that right there. The ask greater than the bid, 0 to 14%, that would be in light blue. That's what that setting controls. We could change the colors. Heck, if you want to change it to purple, you can do so. All fully customizable by the user. And then we also have bid greater than 50%, bid greater than 15 to 49, bid greater than 0 to 14%, which would be yellow, pink, which is actually a salmon, and red, which would be the most severe case of volume imbalance. We also have the outline color. By default, it's in black, and this setting controls the color of the outline that divides the candlestick into two halves and also separately per tick. Let me just move this down lower, and we can see the outline that it's like a divider that goes through the middle of the candlestick and also horizontally across each tick. That can be changed from black to, again, any color you so choose to have. If, for example, you did not want the footprint enabled on your charts, very simply, we can just uncheck the footprint enable right there. And if we leave it unchecked like that, then the footprint, the order flow tracker, it will all disappear. I'm sure none of us would not want the footprint enabled, but it is an option. Here, we're going to have it enabled, and we're going to leave it as is. Okay, so that's your footprint enablement. Controls whether or not the order flow footprint will be enabled, right? And after the footprint settings, we have market profile settings, which we got quite a bit of settings that we should all be familiar with. The TPO in minutes, which is giving us a range of 1 to 30. So we can take a look at the TPO period. By default, it's always 30 minutes. But let's read it from here. Gives you a better explanation. So this setting controls the amount of time in minutes that each TPO period should last for. By default, each TPO is a 30-minute period. And warning, changing this to any other time period is not recommended. The accuracy of the strategies built around this indicator are based on a 30-minute TPO. But it is customizable, and it is customizable because there are other market profile strategies that involve not using a 30-minute TPO period. Okay, but there is only a range between 1 minute and 30 minutes. But again, that could be a setting to play around with on your own individual time. During trading hours, it's definitely best to always use a 30-minute TPO. Next, we have TPO tick increments. And this setting controls the range in ticks that must be achieved in order to print TPOs. So for example, if TPO increment is set to 4, then price must move 4 ticks above or below the previous TPO in order to print a TPO at a new price. This setting is used to consolidate the dispersion of the bell-shaped curve into a more readable profile. By default, it is set to 2 ticks. Some markets may actually need higher tick increments. For example, a market like the NASDAQ. We know that the NASDAQ is 4 ticks per point. And the NASDAQ, on average, can trade anywhere from 30 to 60 points. So there's a lot of increments in ticks that the NASDAQ is going to have. So for that instance, you would want to increase the number of tick increments. That way you have a more clean look when it comes to the profile view. So for example, if I were to change the tick increments on the S&P 500 to say 8 ticks per TPO increment, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Now here we can see that suddenly there's a large disparity between 1 tick up here and these TPOs right here. If I were to switch over to profile view, here's how that looks like. And I literally have only just a few letters to really speak of. So what happened here? So what happened is I changed this to 8 ticks, right? So the difference between the distance between these set of letters and this set of letters is 8 total ticks. As we can see, that doesn't work very well here for the S&P 500 futures. Thus, we really shouldn't have that. But when we switch it back over to just a 2 tick increment, it makes more sense. Right, so let's switch over back here to 2 ticks. And let's click OK and let the chart load here for 1 second. Okay, and now that it's completely loaded up here, we can see that this makes a lot more sense, right? It looks more of a profile. It has more of the feel of a profile, right? And it gives you better information. The previous, 8 tick increment on the market profile just gave us close to no information. Here we can see areas where we traded through the most. We can see peaks and valleys. We can see better representation of the valley areas, and it's more informational. So that's what the TPO increment does. And something on a chart like the euro or a chart like gold will need an increase in TPO increments just so that it doesn't give you completely false information. Or the best example would be to just show you guys here on gold. So here's a chart of gold, and let's take a look at the number of tick increments we have here. So here I have it set to a tick increment of 5. Let's see what happens when we change it to a tick increment of 1. And before we do, let's switch this over to profile view. Okay, and here we see the profile very neatly in place. We can visually see peaks and valleys, distributions, so on and so forth. Now let's go ahead and change that to the TPO increment of, say, just 1. Now notice the distance between each letter. Now watch what happens when I go ahead and click OK. Okay, now that it's loaded up, you could already tell the difference in the profile. Let me just go ahead and switch over to profile view. And now this is showing me just something that's really trippy and weird. And it's not that it's trippy and weird, but the way that I have the chart set up, it's showing me a TPO at each tick, right? Before we had it at a setting of 5, which means it's showing me a new letter every 5 ticks it trades up, or every 5 ticks it trades down. Now it's showing me a letter for every tick that it trades up and every tick that it trades down. Now, all I have to do is just scrunch this, expand the right axis. Now I can see the letters more clearly, and but this is annoying, right? We can't work with this unless you have a super large monitor in vertical view. Most of us do not have that, so when we fix it up so it all fits on one chart, it gets this kind of trippy looking profile. So for that reason, those are the reasons why we added this TPO increment setting, so that it shows us a clean view of the market profile, right? It shows us a very, very nice clean view of the market profile. And again, some markets may need a higher tick increment than others, but that's that right there. So let's keep going here with the indicator settings. Next setting that we have is the TPO hybrid mode TPO enabled, and hybrid mode volume profile enabled. Okay, so what this does is it enables both hybrid mode TPO profile and volume profile. So if I wanted to just look at a volume profile and not a TPO profile in hybrid view, all I would have to do is uncheck TPO profile, and now when I click apply and OK, I'm only gonna see the volume profile. Or let's say I didn't want to see a volume profile at all, but I wanted to see a volume profile, a TPO profile, then now I can only see a TPO profile and not a volume profile, right? So again, just customizable to what you guys want it to be. I like to have both on. I think it's important to have both the market profile and volume profile on the same chart. It's beneficial sometimes to use one or the other, but I like to see both. That's just my personal opinion. Now here are the visual settings. First is the value area TPO color, and this setting controls the color of TPOs that are inside of value. So remember, TPOs inside of value are in black, right? And we can see the letters are colored in black. This is where you can automatically customize the color of it. The point of control of the TPO color, that can be changed. And this setting controls the TPO price deemed to be the TPO point of control. Next we have volume point of control, TPO color, okay? And I know it gets pretty confusing here, right? Volume point of control, TPO, right? But the TPO is the same thing as a letter, right? Those letters. The volume profile point of control letter color is the best way to sort of read that. And this setting controls the color of the TPO price that is deemed to be the volume point of control. We have VWAP TPO color and TWAP TPO color, and pretty much what this does is it marks the areas where the VWAP and TWAP have traded through and where they are, where they exactly are. So here we have a green, here we have a khaki. So it shows us where the VWAP and the TWAP are displayed through the volume, through the TPO profile. But if we switch over to hybrid view, it just gives you a more clear representation rather than a color on the profile. Here we can see that's where they traded through, and then they traded all throughout these levels. And you know, this is the best visual representation of a VWAP and TWAP, but we also have the option of seeing it through the colors of the profile itself. Next we have single prints. That changes the color of the single prints. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory when you really think about it. Value area, price above value area, color, the volume histogram opacity, and this one's unique right here. This setting controls the transparency of the volume profile histogram. So if we're looking at the chart, we can see the volume profile histogram in the background. If we wanted it to be more transparent than it is right now, we would decrease that number. So this is percentage, right? So 0.3 is the same thing as 30%. So if I were to change that to 10%, I would just change it to 0.1. So on and so forth. Or if I don't want it there at all, you know, that's another way of disabling the volume profile. It's literally just to have it completely transparent. Or if I wanted it to be more apparent, right? I wanted it to be more, you know, more bright, right? And not transparent. I would increase this to, you know, 50% or even 80%. That would make the volume profile a lot darker than it really is right now. It would make it pop out a lot more. Value area below color is in this fire brick red. Again, customizable by the user. The volume histogram color, this is the color of the volume profile in the back. We can change it to any color we want. Right now by default is in gray. The point of control line color, which is, remember, the point of control in on the TPO in hybrid view, we can see that right there. A little bit hard to see, but it's there. You guys are more than likely able to see it. Again, just customizable by the user. Let's make a few changes here. So we changed the histogram opacity. We're gonna change the point of control color. Let's make it blue. Okay. The value area line color, so this marks the value area high and the value area low. Let's change those to magenta. That's pretty crazy bright pink. And this is another really great feature of the indicator, is changing the font size of the actual TPOs. Before we go any further with the explanation, I want to show you guys the difference between font sizes. So we have font size, we have TPO font family, which is pretty much which font you really want, whether you want Calibri or Times New Roman or even Wingdings. You can type it in and it'll automatically change to that font. And we could also show the TPOs either bold or not bold. By default, we don't have them boldened, but it's something that you can certainly have an option to do. So I'm just, so here's the few changes we made. 80% on the volume histogram. We changed the color blue for the point of control, and the value areas in the value area high and value area low in hybrid view to magenta. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK, and let's let this thing load here for a few seconds. Okay, so we've completely loaded here, and we can see the value area high in that magenta color, value area low in that magenta color as well. Here we can see the point of control in blue. And most notably, the first thing is the volume profile. You can see that it's a lot more apparent than it used to be. That's the opacity feature. It makes it more transparent or less transparent. Now, what I really want to go over is just the TPO font sizes. So let's go ahead and switch over to profile view. And we're going to go ahead, we're also going to change the color here of, we're going to revert this back to normal. And we're going to change the font size. So kind of remember what it looks like here. We're going to change the font size, and we're also going to make it bold. And we're also going to change the font itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to indicators. Let's switch back to our normal. In fact, I'm only going to change just the opacity here. Change this back to 30%, which is what we had it at. And now what I'm going to change is the font size. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. So we're going to do a 12 font size rather than Calibri. Let's pick something most of us know. So Times New Roman. And I'm also going to have this bold. Okay. Now that I did that, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK and let this load again. Okay, so here we can see it's finally updated here. Things are looking back to normal. The only difference is the value areas. We left those alone. And now we're going to go ahead and switch over to the profile view. And you can see here it's completely changed the way it looks compared to how it was. Now we're looking at a size 12 font. We have Times New Roman as the font. And we also have the font in bold, right? So we've boldened the font itself, changed the size, and also changed the font itself. So it's pretty cool. You could customize it to however your heart's desire, whatever font your heart desires. So it's pretty cool that we can change this. Not a lot of platforms allow you to, this much customization on any indicator. NinjaTrader has really done a great job with everything that you can do and create with indicators. And in terms of market profiling customization, this is the top. This is the best. So that's the TPO font size, font family, and if you want it bold or not. Let's go back to the indicator settings as we finish up the trading manual here. So we're going to leave that alone. Then the next thing here is the TPO hybrid mode opacity. So that would be the squares, the TPO on the hybrid mode, and we can see that this is also set to 30%. If you wanted it greater than 30%, you could increase it, or if you want it less, you can decrease it. Next is the supplemental marker. If we scroll down here, we can see supplemental marker. This is an extra feature for traders new to market profile, and this marker helps locate exactly where price is located on profile view. The color can be changed by the user. Here we can see the color. We can change for the supplemental marker, and all the supplemental marker is. So if we take a look at the profile, we see that it has a little bit of a small little triangle here. So this is where price, this is the last price. This is where the market is currently trading at. Now, someone who is fairly new to market profile on the profile view might be a little lost, because they might think to themselves, well, where is price currently at? Well, two ways to know. You could look at the flag on your NinjaTrader platform of your current price, or you could also look at that little marker right there. Now that marker is by default the way it looks. If you want an extension or a supplemental marker, what it really is, if you enable it, it shows you a line stretching out across that shows you where prices are currently at. We know that in hybrid mode we see candlesticks, and we know just at first glance when we take a look at candlesticks where price is currently at. But in profile view, you have to rely on these markers to see where prices are currently trading. So the supplemental marker, just gives you more confirmation, lets you know, hey, this is where I am. This is where price is. And finally, on the VWAP and the TWAP, whoops. If we scroll down through all these, data series, setup, calculations, visuals, these we could all leave alone. And when we switch over to here to the plots, we can see VWAP and TWAP, and these can be changed to anything. Here's, you could change the color, the width of the line, whether you want a horizontal line, square, triangle down, triangle to the left, depending on how you want the VWAP to look like, which is called the plot style. And here for the TWAP, you have the exact same. Whether you want to change the opacity, you want to make it more transparent, less transparent, so on and so forth. And that would be it here for the manual. So congrats. Can't wait for you guys to try them out. And if you need any further help, you could always go to the www.themarketprofile.com and get one-on-one training with yours truly on the market profile today. So if you need further help, definitely sign up for a session. We can set up the market profile for you, as well as give you a quick lesson on how to use the market profile and some techniques that can be adjusted to your individual needs. Many traders, have different account sizes, and how to use the market profile for your account size is one thing we go for. We analyze your goals and how we can achieve them using the market profile. So definitely give this a try. One-on-one training with me on the market profile. You could choose any date, wide variety of times. Again, if you go to the website, themarketprofile.com, you could get your one-on-one training. Thank you guys for inquiring on the indicator, and happy trading.